What's up, everyone? Today I'm discussing one of the greatest horror sci-fi movies of all time, John Carpenter's 1982 classic, The Thing. This movie is about as close as you can get to perfection. The Thing is well known for being filled with grotesque H.P. Lovecraft-inspired nightmare fuel, and that may actually be part of the reason why it struggled at the box office. After all, the competition at the time was the family-friendly E.T. It also didn't help that critics tore it apart. But The Thing was a movie way ahead of its time, and as the years have gone by, it's become recognized as one of the greats. With that in mind, for this special episode of Rewind, I thought it would be cool to talk about 5 reasons why I think The Thing is the greatest horror sci-fi movie of all time. You know the deal, spoilers are ahead. It goes without saying, the greatest horror sci-fi movie of all time needs a killer story, right? In this case, we're covered. The script by Bill Lancaster is excellent from start to finish. Our setting is a remote research facility in Antarctica. We focus on a group of American researchers who have a run-in with a Norwegian helicopter chasing a sled dog. Things go bad quickly, the Norwegian accidentally blows up the helicopter and himself. The pilot takes a few more shots at the dog but is eventually killed in self-defense. On my first viewing, this opening scene alone had me on board. We dive right in head first with the mystery. So many questions. Why were these guys chasing the dog? Why is the dog suspicious as hell? And why didn't I ever learn to speak Norwegian? Eventually, there's an investigation of the Norwegian base, which gives us a glimpse of the horror to come. We see the aftermath of a bloody battle, a frozen corpse, a massive ice formation, and the scorched remains of a disfigured humanoid creature. Needless to say, it's all pretty grisly. The remainder of the movie is a gory battle against a hostile, shape-shifting alien that assimilates and imitates its victims. Dogs aren't safe, humans aren't safe, nobody's safe. The story is based on John W. Campbell's celebrated 1938 novella, Who Goes There? Campbell is considered one of the most influential figures of the golden age of science fiction. The story was loosely adapted in the classic 1951 movie, The Thing from Another World. In that version, the Thing was more humanoid and plant-based. However, John Carpenter's take was more faithful to Campbell's original work. Carpenter was a fan of the 1951 movie, as is evident from the love he showed it in Halloween. But he was hesitant about directing the project. He felt the original was tough to top. Ultimately, he stepped up to the plate and knocked it out of the park.
First goddamn week of winter.
The second factor that makes The Thing a true standout is the rock-solid cast. Everyone here feels relatable and down to earth. In that respect, the movie is similar to Ridley Scott's 1979 Alien, which also featured a small, isolated crew of everyday people, and they too faced off against a horrific monster. The Thing stars the one and only Kurt Russell. Russell plays the team's grizzled helicopter pilot, R.J. McCready. As the movie plays out, McCready becomes our hero. He takes the lead in the fight against the creature. Russell and John Carpenter clearly love working with each other. They also collaborated on other movies, such as Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China, both of which featured their commentaries. And on that note, I highly recommend giving the commentary for The Thing a listen. Russell and Carpenter reminisce about their experiences making the movie, and there's some great behind-the-scenes trivia. But the best part of the commentary is just hearing Kurt Russell laugh his ass off throughout the entire movie, especially when he laughs during the most horrific moments.
There. Whoa! Yeah, there he goes. Oh, Jesus. I love this one. Look at that.
The remainder of the cast was rounded out with Keith David in one of his earliest roles as Childs, the team's mechanic. Childs was a practical, no-nonsense guy who butts heads with McCready. Some of my other favorites were David Clennon as Palmer, Donald Moffat as Gary.
I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
And of course, Wilford Brimley, who was very memorable as Dr. Blair, a biologist, and one of the first people to understand just how deadly the alien creature was. Brimley stole the show in just about every scene he was in.
You don't understand! That thing wanted to be on!
When it comes to practical effects, The Thing is easily one of the all-time greats. In the past, I've discussed the incredible work in movies such as Little Shop of Horrors and The Fly. However, The Thing is in a league of its own. One of John Carpenter's concerns when it came to the creature was he just didn't want a guy in a suit. Well, it's safe to say there wasn't a single moment where the creature here felt like a guy in a suit. The effects in The Thing were handled by then 23-year-old artist Rob Bottin. Although Bottin had a team at his disposal, like any true workaholic, he took on the bulk of the work himself. In fact, he worked non-stop, 7 days a week for 56 weeks. Eventually, he had to check himself into the hospital for exhaustion. However, Botine's dedication paid off. The sheer volume of artistry on display is incredible. Decades later, these special effects still hold up. Because the creature has no true form, Botine was able to go all out. This movie features a wide variety of stomach-turning monstrosities. Each transformation is more disturbing than the last. It's tough to watch this movie and not feel creeped out. Unless you're Kurt Russell, then you'd find some of this stuff hilarious. The legendary Stan Winston also took part in the effects work on The Thing. As I mentioned, Botine was thoroughly overworked, so Winston stepped in and helped with the creation of the infamous dog hybrid. This horrific mass of slimy canine parts, tentacles, and random appendages just springing out of everywhere was our introduction to the creature, and this was yet another scene that just grabbed me on my first viewing. One of the many memorable moments in the movie was when the Thing goes into full-on survival mode. The creature uses the head of Norris to separate and then proceeds to turn into a spider-like creature to make a getaway. Now, I know this movie isn't the origin of the meme "kill it with fire," but I think the phrase is very fitting in this case. Aside from the shape-shifting, head-chomping alien, another major threat in this movie is the psychological horror. There's nothing worse than not being able to trust anyone around you. Keep in mind, these guys aren't strangers, they're a team. They may have typical disagreements, but it's established early on they generally get along. Under most circumstances, these guys would work together to get through problems. But this is no ordinary problem. This is a nightmare. And since the alien threat can take the form of anyone, trust is out the window. Ultimately, it's every man for himself. Both we, the audience, and the characters have no way of knowing when, where, or how long anyone has been a monster until it's too late. Carpenter is brilliant. He constantly holds back just enough information to keep you guessing. We're always a few steps behind. When this movie fades to black, or we cut away to some other situation, you have no clue what may have just went down off screen. Because of the major trust issues presented in this film, the tension and suspense is relentless. As the paranoia over who's really the Thing takes hold, this group can just as likely tear itself apart before the creature can even get to them. The movie doesn't pull any punches, everyone is suspect. Childs.
You're suspect.
Palmer.
You're suspect.
Windows.
You're suspect.
Blair.
You're suspect.
Even the lead, McReady, can't be fully trusted. Just enough suspicion is tossed his way to cast doubt about whether or not he's infected too. Aside from the loss of trust, Carpenter wisely plays off many other basic human fears. Claustrophobia, isolation, and of course the fear of a contagion. In this case, the Thing represents a seemingly unstoppable cosmic disease, a monstrous threat from the depths of space. And to make matters worse, because the alien could potentially infect the entire planet, even if they were able to, these guys literally can't ask for help. So every single path of escape is cut off. This is a bleak story, and that brings us to the bleak conclusion. The last thing I want to note, as one of the reasons this movie is one of my all-time favorite horror sci-fis, is the brilliance of the conclusion. The movie infamously ends with two survivors, McReady and Childs. McReady, exhausted from his battle against the Thing, sits and watches as the station burns. Childs returns and they share a bottle of scotch. Will they get rescued, or is it more likely for them to just freeze to death? Nobody knows. And the biggest question remains, are either of these guys infected? Childs is often pointed out as likely being infected. He mysteriously disappeared prior to the final battle. When he returned, he claimed he was lost in the storm while going after Blair. Then we have McReady. He could be infected and simply unaware of it. This was intentional on the part of Carpenter. The ambiguity only makes the situation all the more interesting. The theme of the entire movie is paranoia and mistrust, so it's very fitting that we as an audience are never let off the hook in that respect. Granted, this is a bleak conclusion, but the fight for survival is something that's overlooked. This movie features an unstoppable antagonist, and for these guys, every single path of escape is cut off. But they don't give up, they go down fighting, and that's a badass message of hope in my view. Now, as for my rating, what would I rate The Thing? This is pretty easy. I would rate The Thing an easy 5 out of 5 things. I don't expect much pushback on this one. 1982 was a long time ago. People don't hate this movie anymore, they love it. I'm curious though, what do you think is the greatest horror sci-fi movie of all time? But keep in mind, if you disagree about The Thing not being the best,
you're suspect.
Thanks for watching everyone, be well, stay safe, later.
Oh, man.
Pay it off, or that's the end of that.